Welcome back to Neal on Fire, the podcast where we explore the technology, science, and strategies shaping the future of wildfire resilience. I'm Neal Spungen, and today we're diving into innovative first responder communications with Rod Goossen, the CEO of RoGO Communications. Rod, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today, Neal.
So I understand that RoGO came out of the Yarnell Hill tragedy. Can you tell us kind of what kind of thought process happened at that point, and what were you trying to fix that you experienced during that fire?
Yarnell Hill tragedy happened in 2013. And it took place outside of Prescott, Arizona. It was called the Yarnell Hill Fire. Inside the Yarnell Hill Fire, 19 Granite Mountain hotshots were fighting the fire from inside a box canyon. The weather shifted suddenly. The winds blew the fire towards the hotshots location faster than they could escape. Unfortunately, all 19 men burned alive. No easy way to say that. After that event, I was horrified, angry, and a good bit pissed off. Like, how could this happen? So I contacted my brother, who's a 30-year wildland firefighter here in Colorado, and I asked my brother, Derek, how the hell could this happen? How could Incident Command not even know where the hotshots were located at? How could Incident Command not warn them that an outflow boundary, a cold front, was pushing the winds and thus the fire towards the hotshots location very quickly? How? And my brother told me, Rod, in wildland firefighting, we are still using paper maps, compasses, and two-way radios. That really astounded me, the archaicness of the technology available to them. My background is in avionics engineering. I've worked for 3 different corporate jet manufacturers doing avionics engineering work on aircraft, and so I know technology. So right there and then, I decided to come up with a solution so that no wildland firefighter, my brother or anybody else, would ever have to die in such a horrible, horrific space before, solely due to a lack of situational awareness and poor communication.
That's great. So because people are probably not familiar with RoGO, take them through what is RoGO? What is the technology? How does it work? What are the different pieces to it? How do they all work together so that we're all kind of on the same page about what RoGO does?
Absolutely. So my brother, besides telling me that wildland firefighters operate with just paper maps, compasses, and two-way radios, he also told me that more than 90% of the time he's deployed on the average fire incident, there's zero cellular service. I mean, these guys are literally out in the middle of nowhere, right? So there's no cell phone service, and all information they get is over the two-way radio. They don't know the location of other resources like bulldozers, fire engines, water tenders, or even the location of other hand crews unless they can visually see them line of sight. They don't know the location of the fire always relative to them. They can see the smoke, but how fast is that fire moving toward my location? What is the wind doing around the corner? So we've made a technology that solves for all these problems. It is called the RoGO Drop Block. And so for your listeners watching, I have one here. This is a small satellite-enabled device. It's about the size of 3 smartphones stacked on top of one another. And this device, how it works, is each crew boss, not every person on a crew, just the crew boss, so 1 drop block per crew. The crew boss will have a drop block in their backpack. This is a satellite-enabled device. The architecture here is that even though you don't have any cell phone service, we've made a RoGO app specifically to work with the drop block. And so the RoGO app on your phone will talk over a Wi-Fi protocol to the drop block. Then the drop block takes that and sends that data over satellite, connecting with everybody else on scene, including with Incident Command. So now everybody can have complete scene situational awareness via an app on their phone that talks to our drop block device, which then talks over satellite to everybody else. And the app provides 3 critical functions for wildland firefighters and really for any all hazards disaster responder that's working in an austere, a remote, or a cellular denied area. Those 3 functions are, we can, on the RoGO app, I can look and I can see where I'm at. I can see where all other human and non-human resources are at. So it tracks GPS locations for everything. Second, I can see what the fire weather is doing. Weather's everything in wildland firefighting. So I can see what the weather's doing around the corner. I can see what, where the fire is, if it's coming toward my location, and how fast it's coming toward my location, and then align tactical decisions accordingly. The third thing is that aligning tactical decisions part. How do we do that? Over radio, I can see where you're at in the map. I don't, Neal, you might be a bulldozer crew boss. I don't need to know your name or phone number. I can just touch the icon that represents your bulldozer crew on my app and be in an instant text-based communication with you. So I can go do point to point, or I can do a text message to from point to everybody in a geofenced area. So that allows for better tactical communication and coordination at the edge.
So, given what you shared, that the majority of wildland firefighting is done in a cell denied environment, other than two-way radios, how are most wildland fire departments handling this now? How do they do everything that you just described that RoGO does?
I love Wildland Firefighters. This is not a cut against them, but because of the technology that they're given, they do it very archaically. It's the short answer. Basically, now over the two-way radios, incident command might call out, and there's a lot of radio traffic. You can imagine like a large fire, say, 100, 200, 300,000 acre fire. There's a lot of crews on that. Every crew has a two-way radio. There's a lot of radio traffic coming back and forth. Just even trying to cut through that radio traffic to get to a specific group is very difficult. It takes time. And so how it works now is, you as an incident commander, Neal, might call out like Rod, Hotshot Crew 2, do you read? And we go through this whole protocol. Then, okay, Hotshot 2 crew, this is Rod here. Okay, Neal would then say, okay, Hotshot Crew 2, where are you? Well, I'd look around. I'd say, well, I think I'm about 3 miles from peak A and probably about 4 miles from peak B. So you triangulate it on a map and make a guesstimate as to where I'm at. You can see that's not very accurate. So, all right, incident command might tell, okay, Rod, Hotshot Crew, we need you to move north 2 miles and start building a fire line in the flatlands there. Okay, just going north and hiking north, and when we get to where we think we're supposed to be at, we'll start drawing a fire. We'll start digging ground, drawing a fire line. That's pretty much it. It's very it's not specific. It's not always tactically coordinated. It's a lot of guesswork, honestly. Like, where are crews at? Are they where I think they are? Do they know where they're at? Are they headed to the right direction? Are they actually going where incident command or another group, where are they going to where they should be going? We don't honestly know that today. With our drop block devices, everybody's GPS located, so we know precisely where they're at, when they're there, and how fast they might be doing tasks, like how fast they're moving toward that next point, how fast they're digging a fire line in a certain area. We can track all that progress. It's specific, measurable now, where it's not with our drop blocks. It's specific and measurable. It's not that today. It's not with the two-way radios. It's not specific and measurable, but we're changing that. Along with changing that specific and measurable part, this isn't just about task execution or task efficiency or effectiveness. It's a lot about safety. These devices were made because 19 men lost their lives due to a lack of situational awareness and poor communication in the Yarnell Hill fire. These devices, first and foremost, are about safety. Where am I at? Where's the fire at? Where are the resources around me? What is the fire weather doing? And am I in danger? If I am in danger, where do I need to go? Firefighters are always supposed to know their safety zones, where the safety zones are at. That sometimes gets confused when things are very quickly moving and fire weather is changing rapidly and fire behaviors getting erratic. So we need to keep abreast of these things. Those safety zones might change. They might move. This is how we keep abreast of where those things are changing and how fast they're changing.
So, as a fire boss today, when I am out on an incident and I've got a bunch of firefighters out there in the field, I've got equipment, in order for me to track where they are, you're saying that they would need to check in on the two-way radio, give some point of reference, which isn't going to be GPS. It's going to be, I'm over by the road, the tree, whatever it may be. And then the fire boss may either drop a pin on a map that they have on an app, or they might actually just write on a map that location. And they're constantly having to update that because there's typically no GPS for people or for equipment. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So in addition to tracking all the firefighters, you now know where every piece of equipment is and what it would take then to move it from one point to the other instead of going back and trying to get people to give approximate locations. Hey, I'm over by the road. You know exactly where they are. So that cuts down on that time in terms of decision making. So
Yes.
if you have a piece of equipment, what actually does that truck or bulldozer, whatever it may be, what do they have to be able to communicate with the system? Do they have a drop box or do they have something else?
They would also have a drop block. And so it needs to be said that, like, if I'm a standalone fire engine, I might have my own drop block. If I'm a bulldozer crews are usually 4 to 6 bulldozers in a certain contained area. It might just be that the bulldozer crew boss has a drop block on their machine. And so if we know where one bulldozer is, the other 4 or 5 are going to be pretty close proximity. Because they're all working in close proximity, if something happens, if something needs to change, if I notify the crew boss usually can verbally relay those instructions to everybody else, especially with the hand crew. Hand crews are always 20 folks and 20 people. And so as the crew boss, there's no freelancing in wildland firefighting. As the crew boss, if I get a directive over my drop lock, I can easily verbally relay that to everybody else on my hand crew, verbally, and get things changed or moving or whatever the directive is.
So why wouldn't every wildland fire department in the US have this? I mean, it seems like if they don't have this function now and they can't track equipment and more importantly people, then it seems like it's straightforward to have something like this because to your point, you're reducing the risk of firefighters in the field and equipment as well, but you're also reducing the time to respond as well because you've got much more situational awareness information that can lead to a faster response and quicker suppression, right?
That is all absolutely correct. Yes.
Okay.
Increases safety, increases response time, increases response efficiency and effectiveness. So to your question, why wouldn't everybody have these? We believe very soon everybody will. I think, this is a brand new device and we're just getting to market now. We have just finished up our software. All of our firmware is now complete. The hardware is now complete. It's time to go to market right now with these devices. And so we have some preliminary customers who are chomping at the bit to get these things in their wheelhouse. And we're working as fast as we can to get these devices made so that we can get these deployed out to firefighters right away. And so part of that is, there's a lot of a lot of things going on in the background to make this happen. Even though the engineering and the software is done, we have to spool up a contract manufacturer. We're finalizing our FCC certification right now, so we can sell these devices legally in the U.S. And so there's a lot of moving parts in the background, but all these pieces have all fallen together. And so within the next couple of weeks here, we're going to be able to go to market very quickly.
Other than the FCC, are there other laws, regulations that you need to follow in support of something like this?
No, the FCC EMI RFI certification is the only legal certification we need in order to bring these things to market. So we've had a lot of interest from firefighters in several other Western U.S. states, here in Colorado, California, Montana, Washington State. Our very first customer was in Arizona. And so we've had a lot of interest from Arizona. New Mexico has also shown a good bit of interest. And so we have the Colorado River Fire Department in Rifle, Colorado, and we have the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management as our first 2 customers that will be receiving the brand new updated drop block.
Wow. So, seconds matter in terms of wildfire response. And I can
Yes.
imagine someone would be looking at this and going, oh, it's something else that we got to put on the truck, something else we have to deploy. It's going to take time away from, fire lines and fighting the fire itself. So what is involved? How much extra time does it take to add RoGO when a crew is deploying?
These drop block devices are powered off 8 AA batteries. So how much time does it take? Not much time. 8 AA batteries are most likely already going to be in here. If you turn this device on, it takes it a minute to acquire the satellite, and after that, you're off and going. So it is pretty much instantly deployable. And so at incident check-in, every crew goes through an incident check-in. When you arrive at an incident, incident check-in. They check what equipment you have. If there's any dents in your fenders, they want to record that so that that fire is not paying to repair that damage to your vehicle, etc. So they do a full walk around. At incident check-in is when you would either turn on your drop lock if you came with one, or if you did not have one and incident command had them, that's when incident command would hand you your drop lock, and then off you go. So like I said, you put 8 AA batteries in them and turn it on, and off you go. We use AA batteries because right now today, all wildland firefighting two-way radios use AA batteries. So AA batteries are widely available at any firefighting cache. So there's no new nothing that they need to change there. They just need to put the batteries in it, turn it on, screw in the antenna, and off you go.
What about durability? I think about how on a wildland fire crew, everything just gets completely beat up, all of the equipment, all the tools. So have you torture tested this thing? Is it IP67 certified? Tell me about that.
Yes, and so even my brother, he's like, firefighters don't care. They're rough on things. They get in the truck, they get in the fire truck or whatever, and they just throw whatever they have on them across the sea. They're rough. So and that's perfectly fine. We made the drop lock to be tough. It is IP67 rated, which means it is waterproof, dustproof, shockproof. If you drop it from 6 feet, it's still, you can pick it up. It's still going to work. It's a very tough and robust piece of equipment.
I noticed you're using Iridium. How did you choose Iridium over other satellite providers?
Sure. I get this question a lot, and it's a valid question. People are always like, why don't you use Starlink? It's higher bandwidth than Iridium. Well, there's several reasons. Number one, Starlink is more costly than Iridium. And if you're talking about a fire with hundreds of drop blocks deployed, those costs add up. As taxpayers, we should all be mindful of those costs because as taxpayers, we pay for those wildfire suppression costs. So number one, Iridium's cheaper than Starlink. Number two, Starlink is great for high bandwidth connectivity. We don't need high bandwidth connectivity. We just need to know short burst data information, which is what Iridium provides. That short burst data is, here's my GPS location. We're saying that is every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, here's my GPS location. Here's what the fire weather's doing at my location, which is fire weather's wind speed, wind direction, relative humidity, dry bulb and wet bulb temperatures. We can send all that. And then of course, if I have a message I need to send to coordinate with another firefighting group, that message is tucked in that data packet or the data package also. So we only need short burst data. We only need small bits. We don't need high bandwidth. The second and most important reason why we're using Starlink, or why we're using Iridium and not Starlink, is that Starlink's frequencies are so high, they do not penetrate either deciduous or carnivorous tree canopy pretty much at all. Where Iridium's lower L-band frequency cuts right through trees, both deciduous and carnivorous trees. So that's important because wildland firefighters are operating under a tree canopy approximately 50% of the time they're deployed on the average fire. We need connectivity. We need something reliable. So Starlink doesn't cut it under tree canopy.
Did you actually do field testing and determine that, or was that something that Iridium told you from the get-go?
No, none of this has come from Iridium. So we've done some independent field testing, and I've also spoken to some high-ranking military folks, SOCOM folks, about the SOCOM Special Operations Communications. Spoken to some SOCOM folks about that, and they're like, Starlink doesn't work under tree canopy. So we, to that effect, we've had some interest from the SOF, that's Special Operations Forces community, from the DOW about possibly using these, and I would love to be able to help our warfighters execute their missions better and more safely too down the road.
So I want to back up. You're talking about saving the taxpayer money. So let's talk about the cost model here.
Sure.
Your typical wildland fire department is not flush with cash. They're struggling to replace the equipment that they have and get new equipment as it comes out. So tell me about how you make this affordable and accessible for wildland fire departments.
Sure. The Iridium satellite model, sending information over short burst Iridium data, it's not that expensive. Iridium's comparatively, especially against, comparing it against Starlink or Amazon Leo, it's a low cost satellite connectivity service. So we've had these things running in field tests, and even if we're setting GPS location every 15 minutes for a standard 16-hour firefighter day for 30 days, the cost is comparable to my cell phone bill at the end of the month, honestly. So we have a low cost satellite protocol that we use, or communication method that we use, but through the increased collaboration, better situation awareness, and better tactical collaboration at the edge, we can cut out a lot of inefficiencies from the current wildland firefighting workday. And so we have, doing some math and some projections, we have a 17-to-1 ROI on our devices, because it'll just make the entire wildland firefighting effort more efficient, that much more efficient and more effective. So at 17-to-1 ROI, you can see these devices would pay for themselves very quickly.
I'm curious also about the insurance angle. So, anytime that there's risk involved, insurance is going to be there. And I would think that just by your ability to track crews and equipment much more accurately than any other method, it'd be interesting to insurance companies that are responsible for municipal coverage for fire departments as well.
That is true. We've spoken to some insurance companies, not just about the coverage for wildland firefighters and decreasing their liability by increasing firefighter situational awareness and communication. We've also spoken to some insurance companies too about using these drop block devices, which can monitor weather off grid indefinitely, about placing these drop blocks in certain areas so that they can be sure and have the data to show that, in a certain area, the winds are normally from X direction at X speed. Therefore, we are charging appropriately, or we're undercharging, or we're overcharging. I'm sure if you owned a house in the WUI is the wildland urban interface. If you owned a house in the WUI, it's getting more difficult to obtain homeowners insurance for these days. If you owned a house in a WUI, and if you had these devices set up and you could prove the wind was always blowing toward the forest, or majority blowing toward the forest, you could take that information to your insurance company and be like, yeah, I'm not as big a risk as you think, lower my premiums. Or the insurance company themselves, their actuarial divisions should be taking this data and figuring that out for themselves. So that's another possibility, another market opportunity for RoGO, is giving having these devices deployed so that insurance companies can be sure they're appropriately pricing their risk models.
So RoGO was born out of a need for wildland firefighting. But I'm just wondering, other markets where you might see applications, because I can think there are probably other types of situations where communications are a problem. So, and I'm sure, seeing your smile, you've thought about this too.
Yes, certainly. So my brother, the wildland firefighter, he's also responded to hurricanes Rita and Katrina. And so I was asking him, if what happens there, Derek? What happens during these hurricane disaster responses? He's like, it's the same thing. Hurricanes take out terrestrial communications infrastructure. If not the winds, then the waters flood MSOs. MSOs are multiple switching offices. MSOs are the computers at the base of every cell phone tower that takes calls in, hands calls off to other towers. It coordinates the entire cellular network. So if an MSO is flooded and it's out of commission, you're not getting a phone call. So yes, hurricanes wipe out terrestrial communications infrastructure, and first responders are using the same tools there as what wildland firefighters use. So definitely have direct applicability in all hazards event. So all hazards would be not just wildfire and hurricanes, but also earthquakes, tsunamis, tornadoes. Those sorts of disaster events usually occur in, or cause there to be, a cellular denied area. Think of it: if a Cat 5 hurricane rolls through Miami, the middle of Miami could be a cellular denied area. There's a lot of people in Miami. We need to get first responders the information they need to be able to get in, save more lives, and mitigate that disaster faster.
So when we talk about the RoGO technology, I can see where you're replacing writing on maps and tracking locations manually, as you talked about at the beginning. I could also see maybe other apps that are used where a crew boss might be dropping pins onto Google Maps or something like that. What else are you replacing? Or I'm assuming you're still sitting next to radios and ATAC and systems that are going to stay in place. But what else could a fire department, in all likelihood, kind of get rid of, either from a process perspective or a technology or something they're using that might not be a fit anymore once they implement this?
Because wildland firefighting groups, because they don't really have any technology right now, we wouldn't be really replacing any technology. And by the way, we're not trying to replace their two-way radios either. We're trying to supplement the information they receive over the two-way radios with a visual graphical representation of what's really occurring out in the fire incident right now, and how those occurrences it might affect me as a firefighting crew at a certain location. And so with wildland firefighting, we're not really trying to replace everything. You mentioned ATAC. ATAC is a software platform for incident management. It's what our military uses for fighting wars all around the globe. ATAC is the incident management platform of choice. So we're not trying to replace ATAC. In fact, we supplement ATAC. And so ATAC is great, but if you're out in the middle of nowhere in a disconnected environment, you're not getting updates on your ATAC as to GPS locations. You're not getting updates on ATAC for messaging. We provide that. That's what we do, is we move data. So we integrate with any software platform, whether it's ATAC, Terra, Five Response, Rhodium, any of these incident command platforms. 3AM is another one. So any of these incident command platforms, software platforms, we support, because we can move the data from those platforms from a central location out to dispersed members uh, in the field that don't have connectivity. And if I can revert back to your previous question about markets and so forth, yes, we're born of wildland firefighting. We have interest in any other all hazards event, but we've also had interest from FEMA, Border Patrol, the National Guard, especially the National Guard responds to a lot of disasters. And we've had interest from some that's Special Operations Forces and SOCOM, Special Operations Communications, and Green Berets, and some Army Rangers from the military. So we have a DoD application also. DoD uses ATAC exclusively, so we can integrate with ATAC directly through a plugin from our drop lock device, so that drop lock information gets displayed directly on a soldier's.
Wow, you've got a pretty sizable market ahead of you. So
Yes.
I'll uh, uh, I'll remember when I talked to you at the beginning, because probably in a year I won't be able to book any time with you. So I'm glad we had this conversation
I would
now.
always make I would always make time for you, Neal.
I appreciate it. So, we
Absolutely.
talked a lot about the tech and the market and so forth. I'm curious, what didn't we talk about that you think it's important for people listening to this to know about RoGO and DropLock?
I think if you're a first responder listening to this, first responders, they're wonderful folks. They're brave. They're running. I love firefighters. They're running into burning buildings or burning forests while everybody else is running out. So I admire those folks that put themselves at risk in order to help others. If I could speak to first responders, many first responders, they're a little bit wary about technology, and with good reason. The reason is because their lives can depend on this technology. So I'm not going to trust something unless I damn well know it's going to work all the time. It's going to be reliable. I can count on it. And so first responders are sometimes a little bit technology averse for that reason. My ask would be that you try it. You turn it on, you try it. We guide you through how it works. We guide you through how it operates. It's very easy to use. The app is very easy to use. The drop lock is very easy to use. We've made everything as simple as possible while still being functional, so that there are not technical hiccups and frustrations that come from that. So it's turn it on and go. Things are very easy. I would just ask that you try it. Our biggest hurdle to get to market is just education. A device like this has not existed before. So educating the consumer, in this case, the first responder, that this technology, these capabilities now exist, and this is how it can help you. That's the biggest hurdle, is just education. So if somebody would take 30 seconds to learn about it, that would be all I'd ask.
Rod, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been a fascinating conversation about how the RoGO technology helps keep firefighters safer by improving communication. Thanks so much for joining us. And thanks to everyone for listening to another episode of Neal on Fire. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, share it with colleagues who are working to reduce wildfire risk and build more resilient communities. And we'll see you next time on Neal on Fire.
Thank you, Neal. I appreciate that.